If you're interested to understand how cultural change works, well, you are in luck. Keep on watching. Welcome, my name is Isabella Brusati and I am the founder of Isabella Brusati Consulting. We specialize in change management with a specific focus on the people aspect of mergers and acquisitions. In the past few videos, I've been talking about the importance of the cultural element, so organizational culture, for an organization to be successful. We have also talked about the concept of culture and most of all the elements of culture and the reason why it is key for a change manager, a change sponsor, a change agent to be aware of the different elements in order to implement a successful change management initiative. One of the elements that people face invariably when dealing with change is resistance. And most of all, this resistance is linked to the individual and also goes back to the culture of the organization. In this specific video, we'll be talking about the link between the three different levels of culture and why, if we try to change just the superficial level, change is not going to be successful, especially when we talk about organizational change. I've already introduced the concept of the iceberg, which is just a pictorial way that shows very easily how culture works. Of course, this model is not perfect by any means, but this series of videos has mainly the aim to provide you with a pragmatic view of culture and with instruments that you can use to sell change within your organization and also to manage cultural change in a more effective way. First of all, let's have a look at the tip of the iceberg, which is the artifacts. Artifacts basically is only the 10% and it is this part, so just the tip of the iceberg. So we go into an organization and we see that the company is characterized by open spaces. So for example, there is not the famous corner office. Everyone is working in an open space. There is not that much difference, at least at first sight, between more junior members of the team and the senior members. There is an open door policy whereby basically people can approach their manager with questions and issues that they may have. So at first glance we can see that this is a non-bureaucratic, so it's a lean organization. But in itself this is not sufficient. We have to go at a deeper level. And that's actually where we look at the values and the beliefs of an organization. We speak with some managers and we check the company handbook and the internet, for example, of the company, and we see that amongst their value they've got being equal, have fun, and focus on relationship, whether internal or external. So we can start seeing that there seems to be a coherence between the artifacts and the values. So being equal, open space, people can approach each other, have fun. So have fun doesn't mean basically not working, of course. It means a more informal environment. And also there's a focus on relationship of people. But then we have to go and check what are the basic assumptions. So basic assumptions are what people give for granted. Let's pretend that in this company happy employees benefit the organization. And there is a belief that if we actually have values like being equal, have fun and focus on relationships, employees will be happier and therefore will perform better. And this flows into the artifact, so something that we can observe by open space, open door policy. So it seems that these three elements in this organization are coherent. Let's pretend that we change the CEO And we go from a CEO that was very informal, more laid back, to a CEO that believes in hierarchy, in the fact that people are different and therefore basically they don't mix. So we have to create layers, we have to show employees who really matters, because people have to conquer fundamentally their status. So status now is important in this organization. So we can decide to focus on the artifacts. So basically we go from an open space to see the corner offices, and we start basically inputting some lifts or elevators that are just for the executives. So we start creating a divide for those who have a status within the organization, and we get rid of the open door policy, because actually you do as you are told. The problem here is that the basic assumption is still that happy employees benefit the company, and actually these happy employees are those that are treated equally. So we will face a good amount of resistance because our values will be in contrast with the artifacts, but most of all with the basic assumptions. Is this going to go somewhere? Unlikely. So what basically the company decides to do is to change the values. So being equal is substituted with we believe in diversity, which is not exactly the same thing. Also, have fun is substituted with work hard. Focus on relationships is substituted with we aim to strive for perfection, for being the best. So this goes. But our basic assumption, so what we give for granted, is still happy employees benefit the organization. So if the values do not reflect the assumptions and the artifacts do not reflect the assumptions, we will still face resistance. That's when we have to basically work to change the three different aspects. And the deeper we go, the more difficult it would be. Because here, happy employees benefit the company. Well, we would actually have to modify the assumption that happy employees doesn't necessarily mean being equal, having an open policy, and basically not having a corner office. This is of course a generalization, is very, very high level, but it explains the reason why when some companies, they don't even look at this at all, they say this is fluff, it's irrelevant, and then they try to implement a change without changing anything or without looking at any of these elements, and then things just don't go anywhere because no one is buying in. So only the executives do, or few executives, and basically they face just a wall. That's it, nothing is changing. Some companies just focus on the artifacts, so they focus on the 10%, but if we do not do anything for the deeper level of culture, it's just what I call a cosmetic change. We can look at the values, but if we change the values but we do not genuinely buy in and in our guts fundamentally, it's just like reciting poetry fundamentally. Of course, I'm being a little bit dismissive, but you get the point. So we need to focus on all the three levels of culture for it to be changed, or for the change management initiative to go somewhere. And one of the main resistance that you may face, and I do face as a change manager, is that culture cannot be measured. I mean, the artifacts, well, yeah, you know, I can observe them, but for God's sake, how can you measure assumptions? How can you measure the values and the beliefs? There are specific tools. They are not perfect, they are not comprehensive, but they are a pragmatic way of dealing with the problem. Because if we always hide behind the we can do this, we can do that, we can do the other, well, we will never go anywhere. So we can equip our organization with tools that can allow us to operate on 3 different levels. I have created a document in which I have highlighted the tools that you can implement within your organization to measure culture. So basically you can measure your actual current culture, but also you can determine whether a change in culture is required. So you got culture A, you want to go to culture B, but if I don't know what A is, how do I know what is the gap? So first you need to assess what is culture A, so your current culture, and you measure it. And then you will determine whether some change is required or not, because in some cases it could be fine the way that it is. Maybe the problem is not in the culture, it's in something else. And if you need to make some changes, you can identify the gap and therefore building all the changes and the steps that are required to go to B. And you can also determine the resources, the timing, the effort, and all the different elements. But if you don't know what is your culture and it's just an assumption that you have relating to your culture, the change management initiative will become tricky. I hope that you found this series of videos helpful. Of course, it's very high level. It was not my aim to make it comprehensive in any possible way. I will keep on uploading videos relating to change management in general, not only to culture, as I think that it's very important to share each other's experience so that we can better the track record of change, because as we stand nowadays, unfortunately, too many change management initiatives are failing, and that's actually not a good reflection on the ability of change managers and those who are involved in change. I hope that you enjoy this series. I suggest to subscribe to the channel if you want to be updated with regards to the videos that I am uploading. I also have a newsletter which I send to those that are registered every month, so you can actually click the link in the description box if you want to receive it. It's free. Again, it's based more on a pragmatic aspect of change management rather than theory. However, I think that theory is important because all this thing is based on the Shane model. As I said, it's not perfect, but I think that it's very useful to understand change. And this is something that you can use as well when you are creating the basis and the rationale for change within your organization. Of course, you can modify it, taking into consideration the language and the way that will be more suitable for your company, so the company you're operating in. But the theory is a great start. Of course, then we need experience, because as I said, change here looks very easy. You know, I look at this and this, you know, that this is the way that it goes, everything is linear. But in practice, there are a lot of problems, and actually our change may well go like this. So, you know, but it's actually what makes change also extremely interesting. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.